Hey guys, I want to come on here and get into this Love After Lockup Season 2, Episode 21. This is the last episode before the season finale and they wrap it up. And it picked up where the last episode left off, where you had Clint and Tracy engaging in their meth attack. Now, I told you guys in the last video that I don't really watch their segment. I think it's pointless, so I often skip past it. And so, for the sake of this review, I'm going to treat it the same way and skip past talking about them. Hey guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who subscribed to me on Patreon and who continue to support via Patreon. If you want to become a patron and support, you can click the link in the description box and become a patron to support the channel. You can also support via PayPal or through Cash App, and the links to those will be there as well. If you choose to support via Patreon, you will get access to exclusive live streams, exclusive contents, and any other content that I put there that is not on YouTube. And again, thanks and a big shout out to everyone who already subscribed. After Clint and Tracy, they actually moved on to Brittany and Marcelino segment, and that also picked up where it left off, where he's running around trying to get custody of this little white child that's not his. And a lot of people will look at that as a noble deed, but it may or may not be. But I do think it's interesting how in the quest of trying to obtain custody of this child, he actually ends up getting in a fight with Tito, because Tito doesn't want to give up custody of his child, and that's his prerogative. It is his child, so he doesn't have to give up custody of him. But Marcelino, because he has this fantasy in his head of him and Brittany having both their kids, he chooses to go over to Tito's house against Brittany's wishes and ultimately ended up getting in an altercation with Tito over the child, because Tito acted a lot. He acts kind of, to me, the same way Sarah does, where he took on a more hood persona once he was in the presence of Marcelino, who is a mixed black Hispanic. But when it comes to confessional, or when he deals with his new wife or Brittany, then he goes back to his regular white persona. But ultimately, they ended up getting into an altercation, and with the show, they kind of drug it out and did it piece by piece. By now, I'm starting to think that they show more ads than they do show. And that's assuming that you watch the show the moment that it airs, then you're going to be skipping past a lot of ads. But I'm going to move on. Megan and Michael and Sarah, they showed where Sarah was driving. She talked about how she had a temporary bout of depression, and she pretends that she's going to talk to a divorce attorney. Now, she should have been gotten a divorce from Michael. He's playing her and Megan. And I don't know which one of them I think is dumber. Whether I think Sarah is the bigger fool because she's married to him. She had a second child by him after knowing that he was cheating on her. He got her pregnant purposely. She had unprotected sex with him purposely, knowing that he was a cheater, knowing that she could get pregnant, and knowing that he's not reliable. So right now, I personally don't feel bad for either one of them, but she's driving in the car, going to Flint so that she can take the two kids to Michael and then give him some divorce papers, when really, look, this is what she's really going over there doing. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to her persona while she's in the confession, while she's in the car by herself talking to her daughter, because it's all white Valley girl. But then the minute that she goes into the situation with Mike and his family, watch how she turns on her black scent. I really want you guys to notice that, because I don't know if anybody notices that but me, how she switches up her persona. Whenever she's doing her confessional, she talks how she normally talks, but whenever she's around Michael's family, or when she had the confrontation with Megan, she jumps into her hood accent and goes, "You got played, but you got played though. But you got played. I've been holding it down for you." She puts on this persona where she wants to be a hood chick, and she does that, and it's so laughable and it's so fake and comical. But her whole thing is she's gonna pretend to do this divorce when the reality is she made a comment that let me know that she really just wants Michael to lie to her, tell her sweet nothings, and pretend that he's not going to be a cheater, when the reality of it is he is. He already said at the conclusion of the last season that he didn't know how to be a man. He doesn't know how to be a husband. He's never seen how a husband is, because apparently he has an absentee dad as well. So the reality is all he can do is mimic what he's been taught, and he's been taught that by his absentee father, or whoever his father is. They don't really talk much about it. They only show his mom and his sister, but apparently the dad's nowhere in the picture. So by his absence, he taught his son to be absent, to be unreliable. He didn't stay around and teach him how to be a man. But we move on to Andrea and Lamar, and I told you guys that I don't like Andrea. Andrea and Lamar are on their way to Utah, and she thinks that somehow if she just takes him to Utah, she's going to reform him and that he's going to stay there. She really plans to keep him there, i.e. trick him. And the more that I watch this, I believe that their relationship is not going to work. I just don't think it's going to work. He is who he is. He doesn't even seem religious at all, which is a good thing. She's super religious. And rather than finding someone who is like-minded with her in Utah, because I'm sure she can find some black men who are Mormons like her, she went and searched in California for someone who doesn't even have the same belief system as her. So I just don't believe that this is going to pan out for her. Mormonism isn't a religion that anybody should take up, but she is taking up the religion. She has him around her friends who, if you guys notice, she has one black friend and everyone else is white. And I'm not saying that you can't have white friends, but I think it's interesting that most of her friends, the demographic of her friends just doesn't meet who she is. So why would Lamar, coming from California, LA actually, which is more diverse, why would he feel comfortable there amongst all of her friends? And she has one black female friend who let her know that tricking him into being in Utah isn't the way to go. And so again, I'll say I don't really see their relationship lasting. Megan is sitting up here and her dad is trying to talk sense into her. I don't think anybody can talk sense into Megan. Megan believes that she's in love. She keeps saying that she wants to see how this is going to pan out. Everybody can go on social media and tell her how this is going to pan out. What I don't like is that all on her Instagram account, you have a bunch of other black women sitting up there egging her on and telling her how what she's doing is acceptable. It's not acceptable to be sitting on a national television show while this man who has lied to you, hid his marriage, cheated on you, and created another child sits up and says, can he get a little sucky sucky? Are you kidding me? She's making a stone fool of herself on this show. And the fact of the matter is she doesn't even see it. Her dad tries to talk some sense in her and tell her about the right type of men that she should be going with and how this dude is not somebody she should be with. And she's sitting there not paying attention to what he's saying, telling him how he doesn't need to talk to Michael. It's just ridiculous. Like, her entire mindset screams low self-esteem, and this is actually not usual. This isn't typical of women who have, regardless to race, of women who grow up with their fathers at home. This behavior isn't typical. Why she wants to get with a multiple felon who is married, who has 2 children by another woman who confronted you, put you in drama, is beyond me. But that goes to your self-value. If Megan valued herself, she would not be going through that situation. And I can tell you what, I didn't grow up with a dad there, but I would never be in a situation like that, where he's married, he has 2 kids, he hid the marriage, and I'm sitting here chasing after him saying, I want to see how the story ends. I don't care. The story will end right there, actually. That's where the story should end. She has a dad at home who's active, who talks to her, who teaches her, who tries to hand her down knowledge about men, and she's ignoring it and putting herself in this toxic relationship that's going to go nowhere. I don't know that they're going to get a divorce. If they do get a divorce, it will solely be because Sarah initiated it, but Michael certainly is, and he doesn't even have the money to get a divorce. So my thing of it is she's just wasting her time on Michael. But if she chooses to do that, that's on her. You really can't make anyone have self-worth or self-value. And what you ultimately choose is what you think you deserve. So if she's choosing to be in a relationship with a man who has lied to her, according to her, cheated on her, hid a marriage from her, and has to split his time between her and another woman, then that means that's what she deserves. That's the value that she places on herself, because that just wouldn't be my situation. Like I said in the last one, you can't respond to something that you don't know. So if she's in this situation and she doesn't know about it, that's one thing. But the fact of the matter is, she at this point is playing her for a fool, because he could only play her for a fool when she didn't know about it. Now she knows about it. So at this point, she's playing herself for a fool. She's doing this to herself, and I have absolutely zero sympathy for her. That's just a reality, because again, what you tolerate and what you put up with and what you allow yourself to be in regards to relationships is ultimately what you feel like you deserve. But you guys, that was it for Love After Lockup Season 2 Episode 21. I will be back for Season 2 Episode 22, which will be the conclusion of this season, and I will be covering the next season of Love After Lockup. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the next one.